I want you to picture a scenario that is, well, it's probably all too familiar for a lot of us. It is 3 a.m.
Oh man, the absolute worst time to be awake.
Right. You're staring at the dark ceiling of your bedroom, and there is this constant gnawing anxiety churning in your stomach, and it's about money.
Yeah, that 3 a.m. money panic is universal.
It really is. And here's the truly crazy part about this feeling. It almost doesn't matter how much you actually make.
No, not at all.
Like, whether you are barely scraping by, budgeting every single penny at the grocery store, or you're pulling down a multi-six-figure salary, there is this exhausting frustration, this feeling like you are never truly ahead.
Right, like true financial security is just this mirage that's always one step out of reach.
Exactly. But what if I told you that solving this incredibly painful problem has absolutely nothing to do with being some kind of math genius?
Which is such a relief for those of us who hate spreadsheets.
Honestly, yes. What if your secret weapon is actually a complete mindset shift? Because financial success, as it turns out, it isn't a hard science.
No, it's really not.
It is a soft skill. It's a realm where how you behave is far, far more important than what you actually know. Welcome to Bookend Podcast, the Library of Success.
It is so great to be here, because today we are unpacking Morgan Housel's brilliant book, The Psychology of Money.
Such a good one.
It really is. And our mission for this deep dive is to explore the fascinating historical anecdotes and psychological insights he lays out, all to uncover a really profound truth.
Yeah, we are going to figure out why ordinary, everyday people can build massive generational wealth while brilliant, highly educated financial executives go utterly bankrupt.
Right. And more importantly, we want to show you how you can use these hidden behavioral secrets to completely master your own financial destiny.
I am so ready for this. Let's just start with what might be the most shocking proof of this entire premise.
Let's do it.
Finance is essentially the only field on planet Earth where an untrained novice can routinely outperform the most educated experts.
Which is wild when you think about it.
It's insane. I mean, you would never hear a story about a janitor performing a heart transplant better than a Harvard-trained surgeon, right?
Or designing a better skyscraper than a top architect. It just doesn't happen.
Exactly. But it happens in finance. And to prove it, we really have to talk about a man named Ronald Read.
Oh, Ronald Read is the perfect embodiment of this. He was a rural Vermont gas station attendant.
Just a totally regular guy.
Completely. He spent 25 years fixing cars, and then he spent another 17 years sweeping floors as a janitor at JCPenney.
Wow.
Yeah, and he lived an incredibly humble life. I mean, he lived in a 2-bedroom house that he bought for 12 grand, and his main hobby, literally his favorite thing to do, was chopping firewood.
I love that so much.
Right. But here is the kicker. When he died in 2014 at the age of 92, this humble janitor made international headlines.
Because he left behind a fortune of $8 million.
$8 million.
Which is just staggering, and everyone who knew him was completely baffled, right? They thought he must have won the lottery or, I don't know, inherited some secret fortune.
Yeah, his friends had no idea. But there was no secret. He simply saved what little he could, and he bought what people call blue chip stocks.
And just to clarify for anyone listening, blue chip stocks are basically shares in massive, historically stable, well-recognized companies.
Right, nothing flashy, no crazy startups.
Exactly. And then he simply waited. He let those tiny savings sit there for decades. And when he passed, $2 million went to his stepkids, and $6 million went to his local hospital and library.
It's a beautiful story. But to really understand why this is so mind-blowing, we have to immediately contrast him with a guy named Richard Fuscone.
Oh man, this guy.
Yeah, Fuscone was everything Ronald Read was not. He was a Harvard-educated executive at Merrill Lynch.
He had an MBA, right?
He had an MBA. He was so successful in the highest tiers of global finance that he actually retired in his 40s. A major business magazine even put him on their 40 under 40 list.
But then the mid-2000s roll around.
Yeah, things change.
Fuscone borrows heavily to expand an 18,000 square foot mansion in Greenwich, Connecticut.
18,000 square feet.
We're talking 11 bathrooms, 2 elevators, 2 pools, 7 garages. A house that cost $90,000 a month just to maintain.
Which is just incomprehensible.
And then the 2008 financial crisis hit.
And he was entirely wiped out.
Just completely crushed.
He was crushed by high debt and illiquid assets. And we should probably define that for a second. An illiquid asset means your wealth is tied up in massive, hard to sell things.
Like an 18,000 square foot mansion with 2 pools.
Exactly. You can't exactly sell a swimming pool overnight when the market crashes and you suddenly need cash to pay a massive mortgage.
No, you definitely can't.
So he ended up declaring bankruptcy, literally telling a judge he had zero income. His mansion was sold in a foreclosure auction for pennies on the dollar.
So we have to ask the obvious question. How does the janitor beat the Harvard executive? It feels like it breaks the laws of physics.
It really does.
But I think about it like this. Compounding wealth is like rolling a snowball down a hill.
Yeah.
First, you're packing it by hand, it's barely growing, and it just feels like exhausting work.
Yeah, it takes a lot of effort early on.
Right. But if you just keep it rolling, eventually it gathers snow on its own, and suddenly it's an unstoppable boulder. Ronald Reed just kept rolling the snowball.
And Richard Fuscone.
Fuscone basically tried to strap a rocket to his snowball, and it blew up in his face.
That is a perfect analogy because it highlights that Ronald Reed was patient and Richard Fuscone was greedy. That is the fundamental difference here.
It really comes down to that.
It wasn't about who had the better spreadsheet or the more advanced economic forecasting models. Fuscone lacked the emotional regulation to survive a downturn.
Right, whereas Reed had the behavioral discipline to just sit quietly and let time do the heavy lifting.
Exactly. Financial outcomes are driven by psychology, not hard science.
But, you know, that brings up a really uncomfortable realization. If intelligence and formal education aren't the primary keys to wealth, what actually is?
That is the big question.
It means we have to look at how we interact with the invisible forces of the universe. Namely, luck, risk, and our own endless desires.
Yes, and if we connect this to the bigger picture, we have to understand that luck and risk are essentially siblings.
Siblings.
Yeah, they are doppelgangers of each other. The reality is that every single outcome in life is guided by forces other than just our own individual effort.
And the ultimate example of this in the book is Bill Gates.
Oh, this story is wild.
It is. So in 1968, Bill Gates attended Lakeside School in Seattle. Now, out of roughly 303 million high school-age people in the entire world at that time, only about 300 of them attended a school that had a computer.
Just 300 out of 300 million.
Right. And Bill Gates was one of them. He had a literal 1 in a million chance to get hands-on experience with a computer when almost no one else on Earth could.
It is a breathtaking stroke of luck. But then we have to look at the other side of that coin. His good friend and business partner at Lakeside, Kent Evans.
Oh, this part is so tragic.
It is. Bill and Kent were equally brilliant. They were poised to conquer the computing world together. But Kent tragically died in a mountaineering accident while still in high school.
Oh, man.
And you know what the odds of being killed on a mountain in high school are? Also roughly 1 in a million.
Wow. So Gates experienced 1 in a million luck, and Kent Evans experienced 1 in a million risk.
Exactly. The exact same magnitude of force, just working in totally opposite directions.
Wait, hold on, though. I need to push back on this a little bit.
Sure, go for it.
Because if luck plays such a massive role in extreme...
That is precisely the danger, and it's a trap so many people fall into. When we judge success, both our own and other people's work, we forget that nothing is as good or as bad as it seems.
Right.
We shouldn't try to copy the specific granular actions of extreme outliers because you simply can't engineer luck.
You can't just decide to be at the one high school with a computer in 1968.
Exactly. Instead, we need to look for broad, repeatable patterns of success and failure. Which brings us to the concept of enough. Because if you don't respect the role of risk, your ego will push you over the edge. Look at Rajat Gupta, a former CEO of McKinsey, or Bernie Madoff. These were men who had unimaginable wealth, prestige, and power.
They had it all.
They had it all, but they committed terrible crimes to get more. Why?
Because they had no sense of enough. I mean, they literally risked what they had and needed for what they didn't have and didn't need.
It's madness.
Which is just total madness. Why would you do that?
It happens because they couldn't get the goalpost to stop moving. You know, happiness is just results minus expectations.
Oh, that's a great way to put it.
Yeah, and when your expectations grow faster than your wealth, you are guaranteed to be miserable. The mechanism here is that ego forces risk.
Right, you start comparing yourself to the billionaire next door.
Exactly. Suddenly your millions aren't enough, so you take a catastrophic risk to try and close that gap.
Okay, so let's say I take this to heart. I manage my ego, I understand risk, I save my money, and I actually build up a nice nest egg. Am I safe?
Well,
Because looking at history, it seems like the people who make it to the top often have the hardest time actually staying there.
You've hit on arguably the hardest challenge in finance right there.
Yeah.
Getting wealthy and staying wealthy are two completely different skill sets.
Really? They seem like the same thing.
You'd think so,
Yeah.
but they require almost opposite mindsets. Getting money requires taking risks, being relentlessly optimistic, and really putting yourself out there.
Taking a swing.
Right. But keeping money requires the exact opposite.
It requires frugality.
It requires humility, it requires a healthy dose of paranoia, and an acceptance that past success was partly due to luck and cannot be relied upon forever.
Look at Jesse Livermore. He was one of the greatest stock market traders of his day.
A total legend.
By age 30, he had made the inflation-adjusted equivalent of $100 million.
Just unbelievable money.
But getting wealthy made him feel invincible. The optimism that built his fortune destroyed it. He took massive, reckless risks, lost absolutely everything, and eventually took his own life.
It's a really dark story.
It is. He knew how to get it, but he had no idea how to keep it.
That's why survival is the single most important word in finance. Michael Moritz, the billionaire head of Sequoia Capital, was once asked why his venture capital firm survived for 4 decades when so many others crashed and burned.
And what did he say?
His answer was incredibly simple. He said they were afraid of going out of business.
But how does being afraid actually translate into an investing strategy? I mean, does that just mean they hid their money under a mattress?
Not at all. Being afraid of going out of business meant Sequoia didn't over-leverage themselves. They didn't take on massive debt.
Ah, okay.
They kept strong cash reserves on hand. They didn't assume a booming tech market would last forever, which gave them the buffer to survive the inevitable busts.
So they were prepared for the worst.
Exactly. And the mathematical reason why this survival is so critical is compounding. You don't actually need tremendous force to create tremendous results.
Right.
You just need to survive long enough for a little bit of growth to serve as the fuel for future growth. Warren Buffett's real secret, the actual math behind his fortune, isn't just that he's a smart investor.
Is how long he's been doing it.
Yes, it's that he has been investing consistently since he was a literal child. The vast majority of his net worth came after his 65th birthday. Compounding only works if you don't interrupt it.
You know, it reminds me of the old pilot joke. Managing money is like flying a plane, hours and hours of boredom, punctuated by moments of sheer terror.
Oh, that is so true.
Right. Your lifetime returns are dictated entirely by how you behave during those punctuated moments of terror. Do you panic and pull the eject cord, or do you stay calm and keep the plane level?
That is a brilliant way to put it. Just keep the plane level.
Okay, but this raises a huge philosophical question.
Let's hear it.
If the ultimate goal is to survive, to avoid ruin, and to let our money quietly compound over decades, what is all this money actually for?
It's a great question.
I mean, it's surely not just for showing off to the neighbors.
Definitely not. And the research is overwhelmingly clear on this. The highest dividend money pays is the ability to control your time.
Time.
Yes, it's the ability to wake up every single morning and say, I can do whatever I want today.
Oh, we get so confused about this, mostly because of what Housel calls the man in the car paradox.
Yes, this blew my mind.
Think about your own neighborhood. When you see someone driving a brand new Ferrari down the street, you don't look at the driver and think, wow, that guy is so cool, I deeply respect him.
Never. You barely even look at the driver.
No. You ignore the driver completely and you just imagine yourself in the Ferrari.
Yep.
We buy expensive things because we want respect and admiration from others, but others don't give us respect. They just use our expensive things as a benchmark for their own desires. Seeking respect through expensive things never, ever works.
Which leads to one of the most profound insights in the deep dive today. Wealth is what you don't see.
Ooh, I love that. Say more about that.
Wealth is the nice cars not purchased. It's the diamonds not bought. The first-class upgrades declined. Wealth consists of financial assets that haven't yet been converted into stuff you can see.
Like the story about Rihanna's accountant.
Oh my gosh.
She nearly went bankrupt from overspending and actually sued her financial advisor.
Yeah.
And the advisor's response in court was essentially, was it really necessary to tell her that if you spend money on things, you will end up with the things and not the money?
It's so blunt. We laugh, but it's a vital distinction between being rich and being wealthy.
They aren't the same thing.
Not at all. Being rich means your current income is high enough to buy fancy things and show off right now.
Okay.
But being wealthy is hidden. It is unspent assets that give you future freedom, flexibility, and control over your time.
So let's bring this down to a normal, everyday level. It's like when you get a $500 bonus at work.
Right.
The rich mindset is immediately booking a weekend trip or buying a new TV. You want to see the money in action. The wealthy mindset is leaving that $500 in an index fund, which, frankly, feels incredibly boring today.
Super boring.
But it buys you actual breathing room 5 years from now. I had this massive realization reading this part.
What was it?
When most people say, I want to be a millionaire, what they actually mean is, I want to spend $1 million.
Yes.
Which is literally the opposite of being a millionaire. To be a millionaire, you have to not spend the $1 million.
Exactly. Savings is just the gap between your ego and your income. If you want to build wealth,
Yeah.
you don't necessarily need a higher income. You need a higher level of humility. You need to stop caring what other people think of you.
Okay, but to build that unseen wealth, to buy back our time, we do have to invest.
Yes, you do.
And investing means enduring the emotional roller coaster of the stock market. How do we actually do that without losing our minds during a crash?
By understanding the price of admission. Like anything else worthwhile, successful investing demands a price. But the currency isn't dollars and cents.
What is it?
The currency is volatility, fear, uncertainty, and regret.
So volatility is a fee, not a fine.
Exactly.
Think about it like this. If you want a new car that costs $30,000, you wouldn't steal it to avoid paying the price. That would be a crime, and you'd be punished with a fine.
Right.
But in investing, people constantly try to steal the returns without paying the price of volatility. They try to time the market, jumping in and out to dodge the dips.
And just like shoplifting, it rarely ends well. Corporate history is full of this too.
Really? Like who?
Look at General Electric under Jack Welch or Fannie Mae. They used accounting tricks to smooth out their earnings.
To make it look like they never had a bad quarter.
Right. They would essentially hide losses and manufacture numbers to make a bumpy road look perfectly smooth, trying to give investors the illusion of predictable growth without any volatility.
They tried to avoid the fee.
He tried to avoid the fee, and when the bill finally came due and the reality of the market hit, it ended in absolute disaster for their shareholders.
We really need to treat market volatility like the cost of a ticket to Disneyland.
Well, that's good.
You pay the fee, and you go in knowing it might rain, the lines might be long, your kids might throw a tantrum. But if you view it as an admission fee for a great experience overall, instead of a fine for doing something wrong, you can finally relax and enjoy the ride.
That framing changes everything. Another way to avoid losing your mind is to make sure you are playing your own game.
What do you mean by that?
Well, bubbles form in the market when long-term investors start taking their cues from short-term traders. If a day trader is buying a tech stock because they think it will bounce by the end of the afternoon,
Yeah.
and you, a person saving for retirement 30 years away, buy that same stock because everyone is buying it, you are playing someone else's game,
Ah, I see.
and you will get hurt.
And while we're trying to stay focused and play our own game, we have to fight off what Housel calls the seduction of pessimism.
Oh, this is so common.
Why does pessimism always sound so much smarter than optimism? If someone tells you a stock is going to dudle, they sound like a sleazy salesman.
Totally.
But if they tell you the economy is going to collapse and you'll lose everything, they sound like a wise sage trying to protect you.
It's an evolutionary shield. Organisms that treat threats as more urgent than opportunities just have a better chance to survive.
That makes sense.
But historically, over the long run, optimism is the mathematically better bet. Markets adapt, technologies improve. The world tends to get better for most people most of the time.
Which brings us to a concept that completely changed how I look at my own finances.
Let's hear it.
The idea that reasonable is greater than rational.
Yes, this is crucial. Harry Markowitz literally won a Nobel Prize for creating the mathematical models of optimal portfolio diversification.
He's the guy for this.
He's the guy. But when it came to his own retirement money, did he use his own genius math?
I'm guessing no.
No. He invested at 50-50 in stocks and bonds simply to minimize his future regret.
Wait, hold on. That goes against everything we're taught.
I know.
We're told to build intricate spreadsheets, calculate compound interest to the decimal, and be entirely rational. Are you saying a Nobel Prize-winning mathematician basically just guessed on his own retirement so he wouldn't feel bad?
Essentially, yes. Because humans aren't spreadsheets. We are emotional creatures. Markowitz knew that if the market crashed and he was fully invested in stocks, the agony would be too much.
It would ruin him emotionally.
Right. If it boomed and he was in pains, the regret of missing out would eat him alive. He wasn't being mathematically rational. He was being psychologically reasonable.
Wow.
And reasonable is what allows you to stick to your strategy when things get scary.
This has been incredibly eye-opening. Let's pull all of this together for the listener. What is the ultimate takeaway from this deep dive?
The core thesis is this. Managing money successfully is rarely about what you know. It's about how you behave.
Behavior is everything.
It is. It is about taming your ego and realizing that true wealth is what you don't see. It's about avoiding ruinous risks at all costs so that you can survive long enough for compounding to work its magic over decades.
Keep the plane level.
Exactly. It's about using whatever money you do have to buy back your time, because control over your daily schedule is the highest dividend money pays.
Absolutely.
And finally, it's about aiming to be mostly reasonable so you can actually sleep at night, rather than trying to be coldly, perfectly rational.
I want to leave you, the listener, with a final provocative thought to mull over tonight. Think about the financial game you are currently playing.
It's an important question.
What if the stress you feel, that 3 a.m. ceiling stare anxiety we talked about at the very beginning, what if it isn't because you're bad at math?
Right.
What if it's because you are playing someone else's game? Write down your own financial mission statement tonight. Define what enough looks like for you and stop letting the Joneses dictate your future.
That's powerful.
Once you realize that your diagnostic X-ray for financial success isn't about perfectly calculating interest rates, but rather about understanding your own behavior, that murky anxiety can finally start to clear up.
I couldn't have said it better.
A massive burst of gratitude to you for joining us on this journey. Thank you for listening to Book In Podcast. We'll catch you next time on our next deep dive.